Nigerian history has generally been kind to in schools. Many refer to him as the father of amalgamation. You know who I'm talking about? Lord Frederick Lugard. He was the one who supervised the merger of the northern and southern protectorates to form a single Nigeria in 1914. Now, in case you don't know, before 1914, what we had were two separate countries. Yes, two separate countries under Great Britain in the same territory. So there was a Northern Protectorate, which was one country as far as Great Britain was concerned, and then there was a Southern Protectorate, which was another country. Lugard was the one who supervised the amalgamation of both protectorates or countries, if you may. So Lugard wrote the following in page 70 of a book he published in 1926 titled The Dual Mandate. What I have here is not the dual mandate, but I'll tell you about this book later on. So this book quotes from the dual mandate. And 1926 was after he had spent several years in Nigeria and supervised the amalgamation, like I've said. This was his opinion about Africans, Nigerians specifically. Now, get ready for this. It's heavy on racism, and you might not find this comfortable at all. But hey, this show is about books, and books bear revelations, even the very tough ones. So here is Lord Lugard's views on Nigeria. I will read. In character and temperament, the typical African of this race type is a happy, thriftless, excitable person, lacking in self-control, discipline, and foresight. Naturally courageous and naturally courteous and polite, full of personal vanity, with little sense of veracity, fond of music and loving weapons as an Oriental loves jewelry. His thoughts are concentrated on the events and feelings of the moment, and he suffers little from the apprehension for the future or grief for the past. His mind is far nearer to the animal world. Imagine that. His mind is far nearer to the animal world than that of the European or Asiatic, and exhibits something of the animal's placidity and want of desire to rise beyond the state he has reached. Through the ages, the African appears to have evolved no organized religious creed, and though some tribes appear to believe in a deity, the religious sense seldom rises above pantheistic animalism, and seems more often to take the form of a vague dread of the supernatural. If you're getting very upset, just wait a minute. It gets worse from here. He lacks the power of organization and is conspicuously deficient in the management and control alike of men or business. He loves the display of power, but fails to realize its responsibility. He will work hard with a less incentive than most races. He has the courage of the fighting animal, an instinct rather than a moral virtue. In brief, the virtues and defects of this race type are those of attractive children whose confidence, when it is won, is given ungrudgingly as to an older and wiser superior and without envy. Wow. Perhaps the two traits which have impressed me, now listen to the traits that impressed Lugard. Perhaps the two traits which have impressed me as those most characteristic of the African native are, these are the traits that impressed me, are his lack of apprehension. How can that impress anybody? His lack of apprehension and his ability to visualize the future. Whoa. Now, there have been much debates on Lugard's comments, and understandably, it has generated a lot of emotional outbursts. What I find interesting here is that the views are so strong and so racial that most people even back then, had they went as far as publishing such views? Well, Lugard did. Another thing noteworthy here is how come a man who had such views about Nigerians is more or less celebrated in Nigerian history? Or is that a wrong assumption? If you ask the average young person about Lugard, he will tell you, oh, the father of amalgamation. And there's a bit of positiveness in describing him and his role in bringing about Nigeria. Whatever the case, whichever side of the divide we might be, what is important is for Nigeria to value and teach history properly to our children. And we must never be afraid to confront the realities of our history. This quote, which I've just read, is one of such history, expressed in the very words of the chief actor himself. Well, I just read Lugard's quote from this book titled Ignis, written by Rufai Hosseini, who is a broadcast journalist and author of several books on Nigeria. There are more of such quotes, facts, and figures in Rufai's book. He's a young man passionate about his country, and you can perceive that in his book, which explores